Space, the final frontier.
Sir, the Federation does have enemies. We must seek them out.
Yes. That's how it starts.
If we're all here, where's Sue? Captain Sue.
But we can only look forward.
Warning! Warning!
We have to be torchbearers, casting the light so we may see our path to lasting peace. We will continue exploring, discovering new worlds, new civilizations.
Is that all this meant to you? Just another spatial anomaly, just another day of darkness.
Do you ever see Star Trek?
The three of us and millions of primitive humans. I like those odds. Kapla!
It looks like Star Trek, it acts like Star Trek, and it feels like Star Trek. Hey,
Where's
can
Chad?
everybody hear me?
Hello?
I don't see Chaddington.
All I see is Daniel's fancy schmancy headset
Yeah.
that I'm still jealous of.
You guys can't see me at all?
No, not at all.
No.
You're like
cloaked.
John Cena. I can't see you.
Huh.
John Cena. I watched Bumblebee last week.
What'd you think?
It was a good movie. He's just awful. He's awful. I'm sorry. I saw him in the first 10 minutes of a movie 10 years ago. I think it was called The Marine or something.
Oh God!
That's a horrible movie.
I think it was probably playing. It was a double feature at the drive-in, so it was probably playing with the other Transformers, one of the other Transformers movies.
Mhm.
But I watched about 10 minutes of it. It was the second movie. I watched about 10 minutes, and I was like, yeah, we can go.
Not worth it.
So
No.
10 years later, I'm like, maybe he's grown some acting ability.
No.
Warning!
Nope.
Warning!
Nope.
Nerd alert!
Nope.
Nerd alert!
What was that?
What was
Where'd that
about?
come from?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I hit it a little late, but the whole John Cena thing, and you said, "Oh, the Marine." Who the hell knows that? But anyway, well, I'm
Yeah,
sorry
so
if you can't. Sorry if you guys can't see me, but I can hear you. I think the recording
No,
on
I
the
see
video
you
is going to
now.
be fine. I don't know what the deal is.
I don't see him.
I see him now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it'll record on my end with all the video, so I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
But can you see my little light up?
What? Wow.
So it's not. I'm only using it as the headset. I'm not using it as the mic because I'm using the good mic. Hopefully, I sound all right. But I don't know. Max
I don't
seems
know.
to
I
be
think
acting.
you're just making it up because I can't see it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Good point. So
You're
still-
lying to me right now.
You still can't see him?
Still can't.
yeah,
Oh.
something. The first time I've ever seen this, some little thing came up from Call Recorder where I do all of the recordings and everything for the audio and the video out of Skype, and it said that the Mac is running too slow. Video may be degraded. Well, it said that the first time during our last show, but we never had any problems. Everything came out just great. So I just kind of ignored it. And this is the second time I've ever seen it. And so I'm assuming everything will come out just fine because it did the last time, and I never did.
So Chad's like,
rolling the dice.
Yep, rolling that dice.
Rolling the dice. I wasn't sure where you were going with that hand gesture there, Dan. But
gee. As I was doing it, I said to myself, this might be a mistake.
just maybe. But hey, that's okay.
It is what it is.
It's okay. I tried to get the this new intro we've got that was sent in. Let me pull it up here real quick. But no one's heard it because I'm not going to be able to play it. But it was sent in by David Willocks. He sent in a couple of different intros for us before. This time, what he sent us, the intro and the outro, we have listened to it, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm here to tell you, it's wild, it's weird, it's strange, it's odd, and it's delightful all at the same time. And for whatever reason, it's in SoundCloud, and for whatever reason, I can't figure out how to download it to put it into the soundboard, so we have it, right? I'll have to go back and do it later. I should have done it
You
ahead
could
of
just
time.
email him, asking him to send you the file.
Yeah, I probably could.
I think that'd be your easiest right there.
Yeah. So I'll figure it out, and we'll have it for the next show. So sorry, David, I told you to be on this show, but it's going to have to go on the next one. So, but it is weird and delightful. So I look forward to everybody hearing that. So it's wild. It just really is. It was kind of like, how much time did it take to do all of that? So anyway, okay. So what's been going on with everybody?
I'm trying to find my new normal.
Yeah.
I went
Now you
back
got
to
2
work.
kids and, yeah.
Oh man, I went back to work for the first time in 3 weeks, and it was like that feeling when the last day of summer vacation when you got school tomorrow, and you're just like that feeling in the pit of your stomach. So that was a little uncomfortable, and when I got there, it was fine. Everything was just how I left it.
Yeah.
Same pile of work waiting for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Back to Space Force.
Yeah. Yep. Space Force training is waiting for me. Was waiting for me when I got there.
Well, nothing really changed for you because the stainless steel starship that Musk is building isn't done yet. It's not ready for you to blast off and head to the moon.
Yep.
So they had some setbacks. They had to kind of rebuild some parts, and people saw pieces of it on the ground in Houston.
I don't know. I wasn't there, Chad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Sorry. I was trying to get a idea of what happened, and you're right. You weren't there. So, oh well.
Interesting though. This is kind of related to being out. My neighbor called me up last week. So shout out to my neighbors, Reed and Heather. Reed called me up and said, "Hey, are you home?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, I'm redoing the front steps, so there's no steps leading up to my front door. He came over and tried to knock on the door and couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
So he called and said, "Hey, are you home?" And I said, "Yeah." So I said, meet me in the backyard. So I met him at the fence line, and he had his wife with him, and they had a tin of lasagna and a tin of sausage and peppers and some chocolate chip cookies and all this good stuff. And I'm thinking, what's going on here? What is this all about?
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, we heard that you guys had the baby, and we wanted to bring something over. We know that things are crazy." So I'm sure you're asking yourself right now, what does this have to do with Star Trek? What does it have to do with TrekCast? And basically, he heard that the baby was born by listening to an episode of TrekCast.
That's awesome.
The guy lives 100 feet from me.
Yeah.
But he got the TrekCast birth announcement and said, "We better bring some lasagna next door."
Nice.
So I thought that was funny. So Reed and Heather, thank you. I'm looking at them. I'm literally looking at them right now as I say thank you for the. Well, I'm looking at their home. Thank you.
That would
for
be
the
weird if they
lasagna.
were standing outside watching us record.
Yeah,
the
they're
show.
standing. They're
We have
standing
a live
outside
studio
the van.
audience outside the shuttlecraft.
So I also have to say, that was probably the best lasagna I've ever had.
Yeah. Huh?
Nice.
And I mean, my dad lived in Italy until he was 7 years old. He was an Italian citizen until 1981. So I hope he's not listening. And Grandma, I'm sorry, yours was good, but Reed and Heather, excellent. I haven't tried the sausage and peppers yet, but if it's half as good as the lasagna, we're in for something good. So yeah, that was my funny TrekCast story.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah,
Cool.
I posted a picture Wednesday night, I believe, in the group, a book that a buddy of mine in the men's group that I go to every once in a while. He happened to find it as he was going through all of his stuff in his basement. And he came across the book, and he's like, "Chad would absolutely love this." And come to find out, we hadn't really talked about it yet. I've known Jeff for only about 3 or 4 months now, but he's a huge Trek fan, and to the fact to where when the series was originally on, he's old enough to where he was watching it in the first syndicated reruns, I guess, in the 70s. And he would always sit and watch it, and he would take notes. He had a notepad and pen and paper, and he would take notes while he was watching it. He's got an original Leonard Nimoy Spock cut-out poster thing in his basement, and so he's a huge.
Does he have the helmet?
He does not have the helmet. No, I have yet to find one of those. I would love to have one just so we can wear it on the show for the hell of it and have it light up and everything. I mean, it'd just be the funniest thing ever. But I haven't really look that hard, to be honest. But
aren't they expensive?
Yeah, they probably are
rare?
expensive.
They probably are. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
I've never looked either.
Yeah, I have never tried to look. I mean, whatever. But well, I've looked a few times, but I haven't looked real hard. So anyway, so he gave me that book. That was kind of nice. I started reading. The very first one is the most. I almost wanted to bring the book down into the studio here and read it for the show because it's the most. It's just the funniest description of Kirk you will ever hear. Like, do you really think that Kirk? Well, a couple things came out, and this only happened in the first 2 paragraphs of reading that book. It's the arena, right? So it's the written version of that show, of that episode, right, where he's stuck on the asteroid with the Gorn. So, and he has to battle him. They describe Kirk in the first 2 paragraphs as someone who is a master of all things of his ship and in complete command. Like, it's just hysterical how they word it. And then, of course, the next thing they say is that the Starship Enterprise is the most advanced ship in Starfleet.
Oh, boy.
Which we know isn't true anymore because that's Discovery. This book was written in 1974.
How dare the Discovery writers disrespect canon in such a way.
It's just funny.
But it doesn't say that he has a sister either.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's no mention of Cybok either, so but whatever. It was just funny. The first 2 paragraphs that I read just made me laugh, put a big smile on my face. They describe him being on the asteroid with nothing. It sounded like a scene out of Galaxy Quest where Tim Allen's on the surface and what's his name, his security officer dude, comes in and says, "Can you look around for something you can use as a rudimentary lathe?" He's like, "Guy, get off the phone. All I've got's a rock." Galaxy Quest, the best Trek movie ever made.
It is.
So I just looked up on eBay. They have the Spock helmet.
Oh.
Out of the box, it's going for $200.
Oof.
That's what they're asking, or that's a sold?
That's what they're asking.
Yeah.
Click over, check the sold listings. That's how you find out what it's really worth.
Let's see. I don't know where that is, man. I don't really deal with eBay.
Amateur.
I know.
Yeah.
Amateur. I have this conversation 1,000 times a week. People are like, "Oh, it's worth this because I'm eBay for this." You can ask whatever you want for something. Click over and see what somebody actually paid for it. That's what it's worth.
Rule of acquisition. Accepted offers. Yeah. Rule of acquisition number 147. The market sets the price.
Yep. When I hold my auctions, everything starts at $1 and it sells for exactly what it's worth.
Yep.
There's no completed ones.
Yeah.
So, at least not recently. Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting.
No.
That's my mission. I'm going to find out now.
Yep. You're the guy for that. You're the expert on that side of the ball. So,
Yeah.
All right, we going to get into the news?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I had one more.
Attention all hands. It's time for Star Trek.
He just plays sound effects.
Yeah.
That's all I do. I just sit here and play sound effects.
Every day's our first day. I was just going to send one more shout out to Hunter Bruno. He's a listener.
Yeah.
He's from the Plattsburgh area of New York. He reached out to me. Ticonderoga is about halfway between Plattsburgh and where I live, and he reached out to see if I wanted to meet him in Ticonderoga. They're having a Star Trek convention next weekend. That's where they have the original set tour. So I thought he was talking about this weekend, which was just would not work for me. But next weekend, I'm gonna see if I can make it. I'll probably reach out to him again, see what his plans are. I might run up there, check it out, maybe spend one night and come back. I probably won't go for the whole weekend. But either way, Hunter, thanks for listening. Thanks for reaching out, man. It was good to hear from you. And I'm sorry for messing up the news intro.
No, it's cool.
Okay.
I went to a convention yesterday too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that's right. We
Yeah,
got to hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a general comic book convention, a little one out of my local library. But they had a Star Trek fan meetup that you could go and hang out. So there was a local group that put on a local Star Trek convention. They're gonna have Aaron Eisenberg there in November. They hosted the event, so it was myself, that group and 2 other people who showed up. So, yeah, it was small, but it was nice. It was fun to talk Trek with some people. They did ask a pretty cool question that I thought I would ask you guys.
Okay.
Not what's your favorite episode, not who's your favorite captain, but what was the last episode you watched of Star Trek?
I got a great answer for that.
Go for it, Chad. Dan's thinking. It seems like
it was Friday night. I went downstairs on the PlayStation with this very headset to try to play the latest version of No Man's Sky, which just came out on Thursday or Wednesday or whenever that was. All new updates, all kinds of new stuff in No Man's Sky. Awesome game. So I sit down there to play it. It's 10:30 at night. I'm kind of tired. Everybody else is going to bed or work or whatever. I think Olivia's working or something. Anyway, so it was all quiet. Had the PlayStation to myself for the first time in a long time. Go to load up No Man's Sky. Play for about 2.5 minutes and it crashes. Reboot it. Start playing again from the same spot I left off. Play for about 2.5 minutes and it crashes. At that point, I'm pissed. I was so ready to play the game. So, since I've got the headset on and I can be quiet about it, I pull up Netflix on the PlayStation. I can listen to it through the headphones and not have it play on the TV. So it's like, hey, I won't wake anybody up. I can crank this sucker up and I can go watch something. So I start to go through Netflix and I'm like, oh yeah, I just watched Caretaker Part 1 and 2, Voyager, because I was going to rewatch Voyager all the way through. And I was hoping I'd get one of my kids to watch it with me, but whatever. Then I'd watched episode 2. I forget what that one was. And so I was like, okay, great. I'm ready for episode 3 or 4, wherever I was. And I hit play. And about 30 seconds later, I wake up and the opening credits are playing again. I fell asleep through 3 Voyager episodes.
Wow.
And I went back and looked at the descriptions, and I'm kind of glad that I did. The only one that I even recall really watching was the one called Phage, where they run across the whatever those starts with a V. Those guys that have all the Vidians. Yeah, all their guys, all their skins falling off basically. They look like Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs. But yeah, and that was the last episode I recall watching. I didn't really watch it. I mean, I was out cold, so apparently I needed a rest. But sometimes you do that. Do you ever do that, guys, where you put on something, you've seen it a million times, but you just you start to watch it. You were thinking about watching it, and just before you know it, you've fallen asleep, and it puts you to sleep. It's like calms you or soothes you or something.
Yep, I go to sleep to TNG.
Yeah,
quite often.
Yeah.
Yep, because I can lay in bed, I can turn it on, I can lay in bed, I can close my eyes, and I really don't need to watch it. I can listen to it, and I can see it in my head because after a few minutes I remember the episode. Excuse me. But the last episode I watched, it's funny that you asked this question because I noticed something. I don't want to say I noticed something, but I took note of something. This was the Deep Space Nine episode where, do you remember when O'Brien was undercover for Starfleet Intelligence?
Oh,
and,
with the
and
mob.
He was a gangster with the mob and the Orion Syndicate.
Yeah.
Yep, that's not the last one I watched. I watched the sequel to that episode, which occurred the following season, where the gangster that died in the end of the first episode, his name was Bilby.
Bilby, yeah. I always call him Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah. And his wife was Marika Bilby, and O'Brien felt guilty, and he was talking to her, and he was probably sending her money or Federation credits or I don't know.
Replicated food.
Yeah, replicator credits. And she disappeared, and he went to look for her without telling Sisko. And when he didn't return in a reasonable amount of time, Julian went and told the captain, he's missing. And he went to a planet called New Sydney. Excuse me. Which they referenced in the first episode, which you hear New Sydney, and that immediately says to me it's named for Sydney, Australia.
Right.
Okay. But instead of sending a Starfleet vessel to go investigate this, Sisko made a statement to the effect of New Sydney is not a Federation planet. so we have no jurisdiction there. And he asked Esri to contact her family because they were very influential in that area. So I'm wondering, what's the story? It got me thinking, what's the story with New Sydney? It's obviously there's humans living there. Mm-hmm. It's named after an Earth location, but it's not a Federation planet. They use money. It's not a Federation utopia like Earth. The Orion Syndicate is active there. So what's the story there? Is it like a failed Federation colony? Is it an Earth colony from before there was a Federation, and the colony didn't join the Federation? I wonder that sometimes. Like when they made the Federation, how many Earth colonies were there at the time, and did they all say, "Yeah, we want to join this United Federation of Planets," or were there some of them that just said, "No, you know what, we're fine, we're good," and the culture would then just diverge at that point? It just got me thinking. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
No, sometimes I wonder about those weird backgrounds, like when Cisco destroyed the atmosphere of the planet to get Eddington.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like totally wash over that. Like no one of the Maquis is so pissed,
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just weird.
Well, it's like Tasha Yar came from a planet that there were humans on that planet, and the planet was a total shithole. So what's the story there? What's the background? And then my other thought then is, if there are all these planets out there, even if they're not Federation planets, but if there are all these planets out there with humans living on them that are total shitholes, doesn't the Federation have some sort of responsibility to try and correct these problems? I mean, we as the United States, we have our hands in everything all around the world, trying to, right, wrong, or indifferent, we involve ourselves in the affairs of other nations. The Federation is giving industrial replicators to Bajor to help them recover from the occupation, but you have actual human beings, actual humans, Homo sapiens, living on these shithole planets with rape gangs. Why aren't they there?
Is it the Prime Directive thing? Like they're just like,
No, it's not the Prime Directive.
Well, it's not a Prime Directive thing.
Not a Prime Directive.
That's true. Yeah.
Here's what it is. Here's what it is. Okay. Just like today, and Daniel's now getting ready for this because he was leaned back and all comfortable, ready for Dan's story time. He was just totally ready for Dan's story time
today, so I'm trying to get comfortable.
Well, you're day trading too much in that thing. That's what it is.
That's true. That's true.
So, anyway, but here's what it is. No matter Federation, where you're born, human, whatever, or any other species for that matter, you have freedom of movement. You have free will to go to other planets, whether they're inside of the Federation or outside of the Federation. So if a group of colonists decide to go and start a colony somewhere on a planet that's not necessarily owned by anybody, there's no sentient life there to begin with, and other people come in and colonize it, within 50 years, you've got a planet that's not really owned by anybody, but it's a hodgepodge of multiple different cities of different races and cultures, and over time that grows into whatever. And because it's multiple species now that are on that planet, because despite the news here recently, I don't think there's going to be that many habitable planets in the galaxy for everybody to go to. It's not ruled by any one organization, right? And so they don't reside in the Federation. They might be part of the Orion Syndicate because they're active there, but they're not ruled entirely by the Orion Syndicate. They're not ruled by the Tellarites. They're not ruled by the Andorians. But maybe there's colonies and different, cultures that come and go from the whole thing. It's a big hodgepodge, right? So I think that right there would happen more than you would think. I mean, it happened really fast because every culture in Star Trek anyway has that need to move around. Almost all of them do. There's very few. We run across the Sheliak who want nothing to do with anybody else. The Ferengi want nothing but to trade with everybody because they, let's rip everybody off. And so I think that goes throughout the entire series, the entire franchise, that there's all these different species out there that do have a need to kind of move around. maybe the humans are the most aggressive on the exploration part, and they're the most aggressive on the discovery and contact and all that stuff than any of the other races, but they all have that underlying need to kind of move around and see things and explore a little bit. And so I could see that happening in a lot of places. So that's my first point. My second thought on that whole thing is I jotted all that down. That gives me a great story idea, Dan. That gives me a great story idea to write. So if you had, which brings me into my little pitch. If you haven't gone over to TrekCast.com recently and looked at any of the stuff that we have over there, we are trying to roll out new content on a regular basis, and I'm making plenty of blog posts, one every other week typically. And the last one I did, I thought was going to be a good one where a lot of people would read it, and it was kind of a made-up story. I won't give away the twist because it does have a little bit of a twist in it. But funny thing about it, and the funny thing you bring up Chief O'Brien, that is still our #1 highest read blog post, the first one I ever made, which was The Punishment of Miles O'Brien. More people have read that one than all of our other blog posts, and I kind of thought that this latest one, the Ensign Theo Lambda, would be read more, but because it's a story instead of just a news thing or thoughts or opinion, it's just a flat out story. But that gives me a good idea to write another one, so I have a lot of fun doing that. So cool.
I enjoy inspiring you, Chad.
You did. You inspired me. It's wonderful. And that's why I was kind of thought it was funny when Daniel leaned back like he was getting ready for story time, because I was sitting here going, Deep Thoughts by Dan Lombardo.
Well, I got a deep thought for you. Then this popped into me while I was breaking concrete the other day. This popped into my head. The Klingon military. What is the official designation of the Klingon military? Do you know?
The official designation of the Klingon military.
Yeah, like the United States military, you have the United States Army, the United States Air Force, the United States Marine Corps, the United States Navy.
They don't have a standing army.
Sure they do.
Well, their houses have individual ships and different classes of ships, and
there's a unified force. And
there's the fleet, because they talk about the fleet.
The fleet's when the individual houses come together as a fleet underneath a general. I mean, they have a general.
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
There is a name for it, and I think it's a total misnomer. It's called the Klingon Defense Force.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking at it,
so stupid.
And I'm saying, wait a minute. This is an empire that expands by conquering, but
there's nothing defensive about that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just struck me as odd that I think they would be called something else rather than the Klingon Defense Force. I would think they would be.
Warning.
Thank you.
There you go.
Alert.
I just
Good
thought,
point, though.
the Klingon Imperial Army or the Klingon Imperial Navy or something, like that would.
How do they recruit for that? If everything is done by house structure, how do they recruit out of that?
How do they recruit for that?
Yeah. Because everything in the Klingon Empire is about your house structure and leaders of the house and who rules the house and the people that work for the rulers of that house.
Well, it's about bringing glory to your house. The best way to bring glory to your house is to win battles, and the best way to win battles is to join the
Defense Force.
No, I'm going to call it the Klingon Imperial Navy. That's what I'm going to call it.
I wish I had a sound effect for Kapla. I would have put that. I do. I just don't have it on the soundboard. I better do that. I'll make a note.
We should probably do the news stories.
Yeah. Hold on.
You want to play it again? Since I screwed it up the first time.
Attention all hands. It's time for Star Trek news.
There you go.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine. We can talk over those sound effects. It's fine. That just adds flavor, adds spiciness to the most unpredictable podcast in the universe. Which, even though I played the intro song, we didn't do the intro to the show.
So
yeah.
Oh well.
People know.
So
our main topic today is going to end up being talking about the potential merger for CBS and Viacom. But so those news stories are out of this, just like last couple times.
Yep.
But so our first news story comes from IndieWire. The headline reads: Carl Urban says Paramount would, quote, be insane, end quote, to not let Quentin Tarantino direct Star Trek. So yeah.
Does this have to be the only news? I mean, I appreciate you putting it together, and that's okay. But it's kind of like, it's kind of like I'm tired of hearing about Quentin Tarantino at this point, right? Until there's something hard and concrete, as in the script is done. Here's the schedule.
Pouring salt on the wound.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
so
what
Carl
the hell
rub
Urban
it
was
in.
Yeah.
Carl Urban was talking to the Huffington Post, and he was talking about, just the future of Star Trek and everything.
Yeah.
And they brought up the Tarantino film, and he said that he thinks, quote, I think Quentin Tarantino doing that film would be phenomenal. He's definitely one of the most exciting filmmakers currently working, and he's interested in making a Star Trek film. I think the studio would be insane to not let him do it. Obviously, I very much relish the opportunity to be part of it if it came to be. They have confirmed that the script is R-rated, which is kind of weird because they don't give ratings, but they have an idea.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's no. That's their own internal.
Well, no, I think
well,
that's along the lines of, when you want a PG rating, you try to get a PG rating. When you want a PG-13, I think they're basically saying we're not trying. We're going to make the movie, and it's going to be rated what it's going to be rated, and they know that'll be R.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. The script right now, as it stands, is written by Mark L. Smith. He's the same guy who wrote The Revenant. So that's kind of interesting and different. That's the
that's who's doing
Leonardo
the
DiCaprio
screenplay,
gets attacked by a bear. Yeah, that's Mark L. Smith wrote the screenplay.
Right, but that's who they've pegged to do the screenplay for Quentin Tarantino's movie?
Yeah, that's the current draft of it.
Okay.
So I'm sure that Tarantino would then look at that script and kind of punch it up or add some stuff or change things around.
But like, we need some F-bombs over here.
Yeah.
We need a rape over here.
Yeah. Somebody needs to get stabbed with adrenaline over here.
Beam me up, mother.
Milkshakes over there. Yeah. That's what it's gonna be. Yeah.
Spock.
So
shoot him with your phaser. Now, you mother.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Jim, I'm a doctor, not a.
But it's interesting. So that's cool that they've got a script already. That's a lot further along than I thought they would be at this point.
Well, they've said they had a script for a long time. The original script that Quentin Tarantino wrote that everybody supposedly read and said it's total balls, So
what I understand is he didn't write a script. He wrote an outline. Like, if I was going to do it, here's the story it would be, and it was like a few pages. And then from there, probably Mark L. Smith wrote the script.
Okay.
That's fairly common.
Okay.
Yeah.
Geez, I wish I could get paid for writing my outlines for story ideas that never come to fruition. I mean, good grief, I do 20 of those a week sometimes.
It happens.
So,
yeah. Our next news story comes from comicbook.com, and the headline reads, Star Trek Deep Space Nine star confirms third character was pansexual. So, during Star Trek Las Vegas, Terry Farrell, a.k.a. Jadzia Dax, was talking about her character at the What We Left Behind panel. And according to her, she was talking about Jadzia's sexuality and says that for her, Jadzia was pansexual, saying that the only rule was, are you interested in me and do I want to know more about you? I guess that's because she liked that dude with the transparent skull.
Yeah,
Captain Baudet.
It doesn't. Yeah. This is not news. Like, we knew this, 20 years ago when the show was on, right? And in fact, if you really think about it for a moment, this was true back in 1967 and 68, because you have all these different alien races, and you're out there in the universe as a human being. Mm-hmm. And if you like an Orion slave girl, then guess what? You're pansexual. What the?
I know.
So what the?
I think it's more pan. That's pan species. Special? I don't know.
No, that's what pansexual is attracted to someone of a different species and possibly of a different sex as well, right? So it kind of both goes both ways.
Gender.
So there are no genders, Dan. I love this thing that's going around right now. Just as an aside,
if there's no gender, how is there a gender pay gap?
But yeah, well, good point. No, but I like this thing that's going around though, where if you go and look at Amazon, you can find a shirt that says there are more than two genders, but over to the right hand side it says which one do you want, men or women? Anyway,
That's funny.
we'll get off the political part of that there for a
Yeah,
minute because we don't really want to go there. But
know.
it is kind of funny that that someone thinks this is news. Like, this has been around since forever, since long before Star Wars thought it was cool to make Lando pansexual. Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter, right? When it comes down to it, why do we have to put labels to this stuff? If you love who you love, who gives a shit? What's it to you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, why do we have to put labels on all this stuff? I don't care. I could care less. I don't think anybody really honestly does.
I think for people who are that way, it gives them a sense of representation. So it's fine.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, it's why I went and saw the Dora the Explorer movie this week. I felt like I needed to go represent and see that. I did.
So you're pan anime? Is that what that means? You're pan anime? Oh wait, that was live action. That wasn't anime. That wasn't cartoons.
Yeah.
That was live action. So now it sounds kind of pervy, Daniel. That's a little
I'm
girl.
a Hispanic cast. I got to see what Michael Pena's up to.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Get your act together.
I'm just messing with you.
All right, and our last news story comes from TrekToday.com, and there's really not a headline, but basically there's a little bit of a interesting thing going around baseball stadiums around the country. Just recently in Seattle, I think on like the 8th of August, there was a Star Trek night, and then later this month, what day is it? The 21st, the Cardinals are gonna have a Star Trek night.
Yep.
And the
Even though the Cardinals are the evil empire. Sorry. Go ahead.
And the 26th in San Francisco, the Giants are going to have a Star Trek night. And
the Giants are also the other evil empire. Okay.
Oh my God!
I know, right?
If you know your Royals history, you know why I say that. As a Kansas City Royals fan, the worst team in baseball this year, who won the World frickin' Series in 2015 and lost it in 2014 to the Giants.
So, anyways. So at the Cardinals Stadium, you can get a Cardinals hat.
Yeah. Hold on.
Hat.
Yeah, I'm covering Chad. Go ahead.
Anyways, and it's pretty cool. It's got the Star Trek insignia on the front. It's got the SL on the side. It's very similar for the Mariners one. It had the Mariner Star Trek logo in the Mariners colors up front, and then the Mariner logo on the side as well. San Francisco, they're going to be doing a Star Trek messenger bag that's got the Star Trek logo and the San Francisco Giants logo on it. So that's pretty cool. I thought it was neat. You know,
what are they trying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say, what do you think they're trying to do? Are they trying to get Trekkies to attend baseball games or baseball fans to watch Star Trek? Which, I don't know. It just seems like
there's more crossover there than you think.
Yeah.
There are plenty of Star Trek fans who are also sports enthusiasts. I am not the only one in the world.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Relax.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about that I find so odd. Okay. Last year, earlier this year, when I went to the local Planet Comic-Con, they had a thing there for a Monster Energy drink, or was it Monster? It was 5 Hour Energy over on one side of the whole thing, and they took up a huge space. And they had things where you could shoot basketball hoops, you could hit a baseball off a tee and see what the speed was, all this stuff. And it was really cool, and I enjoyed that while I was there. And I heard someone, and of course I had my daughter with me, and I had one of my nephews with me who really loves some of this stuff. And but he was hoping there'd be baseball cards there, and I was kind of like, I don't think so, Cash. Sorry, buddy, I don't think they're gonna have baseball cards at a Comic-Con convention. But you never know, right? They're collectibles, so there might be somebody with them. So we look. But anyway. So they had the basketball thing set up, and we went through and we did basketball for, shooting hoops for 10 minutes. And someone walked by and said, who the hell thought that basketball hoops at a Comic-Con was a good idea? Who here is going to really care about sports? And I had to turn to the guy and I said, well, the three of us do, because we're shooting, or the four of us, my wife was with the four of us do, because I'm shooting hoops, right? And it's fun, And I had to confront the guy, because it's like, really? You can be
Chad took him outside and taught him some manners.
That's right. You took that nerd.
Come here, nerd.
I mean, it was kind of like, really?
Welcome to high school.
Yeah, I was kind of like, yeah, exactly.
Said, make like a tree and get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, it was just kind of like, I don't know.
No, you're right.
Something didn't sit right with me there. That you would think that people, because think about that, right? For high school, if you were a nerd in high school, then people probably judged you and looked down on you for the things you thought the things you loved, the things you cared about, the things you were interested in. That's part of why I never really came out as a Trekkie in high school, because I knew damn well what I would get labeled, right? So I was kind of a closet Trekkie at the time. And I was a big sports guy. I played baseball, ran track, so double whammy, right? So you would think it's 2019 that some of these things would have kind of come down to where people wouldn't prejudge like that, especially when they've been on that side of the judgment for so long. But damn, I guess maybe I just have, I just don't think about these things enough, or can't have any empathy for people who feel like that, because I haven't for so long. I don't know. It kind of irritated me. But so that's where it gets back to the whole Star Trek and baseball thing. There's a big correlation there. You'd be surprised when the Royals do that. There's a huge draw, and there are people that actually do cosplay at the freaking Kauffman Stadium when they do it, and it's great. It's wonderful. Yeah,
I just didn't think there was a big enough audience to dedicate a whole night to it. That's all.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what you're saying. I say all the time, Trekkies were everywhere.
I mean, they had Star Wars nights.
When I used to go, but that's more of a mainstream thing, I think.
That's true. Yeah.
I think Star Trek is a little bit more mainstream than we give it credit sometimes. But I know what you're saying. I agree.
There are a lot of closet Trekkies. I will agree with you there. Yep. I go to I haven't gone to one in a long time because I sold my bike, but I used to go. I used to ride a motorcycle, and I would go on. I'm going these poker.
Doesn't give that away at all.
Yeah. But my leather vest. My leather vest has a Starfleet comm badge on it, right where it should be, if it was a Starfleet uniform. And I tell you, I would go to these poker runs and I'd be walking through this biker rally, and I get these salty looking old bikers with full sleeve tattoos throwing me the Vulcan salute. So no, they are everywhere. We are everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. And honestly, it's just hats and messenger bags they're giving away. It's not, they're not playing episodes during the game. So,
Well, and I think that the reason baseball teams are probably still doing this is because, and it's also another misnomer, they think of Star Trek fans as being an older crowd, the kind of folks that would have money and would want to come and spend it at the ball stadium because it's expensive to go anymore, or that they're taking their kids and maybe they want, or their grandkids, and so there is a little bit of that too, which I think that's changed a lot in the last 15, 20 years, as opposed to, in the 90s, that would have been very much the case. But
in San Francisco, they're doing this whole VIP experience. So for the price of your ticket plus an extra $75, you get to sit in a captain's chair and get a photo op.
Yeah.
And you get a limited edition Jean-Luc Picard bobblehead. So it's all sorts of craziness.
Is it Captain Picard or Jean-Luc Picard?
This is Jean-Luc Picard.
I'm wondering if they're pushing the new movie or the new show.
Maybe.
It seems pretty quick, and it's still far out for the show.
Yeah. Well, it is San Francisco though. You said it was San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, the Giants.
Home of Starfleet.
Silicon Valley, a lot of
Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
that's close. That's close by to where the new group is stationed at. Not that far away.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, could be.
Well,
could be.
Yeah, and it doesn't show me a picture of the bobblehead, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
Yeah.
But
that would
cool.
obviously tell you if you saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it'll be fun. I wanted to go to the Seattle one, but I just couldn't make it out there. And I've been looking for one of the hats on eBay. So if anybody out there has got one of those hats, let me know. I'd love one of the Mariner ones.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I don't like Seattle Mariners either, but I'd still take the hat.
I know. Chad hates everything. It's new and different. No.
It's new and different.
I don't like hats.
Wait, we're talking about Seattle Mariners. We're talking about the Seattle Mariners that I don't like, not the new and different thing.
Look, I'd rather have the Angels. That's my team. But
oh God.
Well, I'm from there.
I know. I'm just teasing. All right, we ready to move into the feedback section before we get into our topic?
Let's do the feedback.
Okay, here's
incoming subspace signal.
Okay, so just so we know we're all on the same page, guys. When I say, "Hey, are we ready for this section?" and we all say yes, I'm playing the sound effect for that section. Okay.
Oh, I know.
So that's the part where I should start talking about something completely different.
Yeah, exactly. You know, my front porch. You know, when I took out that one brick, the whole thing collapsed. And
Thanks.
Yeah.
Chad, you said you had feedback?
Yeah.
There you go. Let's steer the ship.
Feedback.
Daniel's like, seriously, guys, we're this is going forever. We haven't even got to the topic yet. Okay, so
I know,
here's the
right?
feedback,
It's
right?
such a long. It's gonna be so long today.
It's okay. It's all right. So,
Right.
all right. So we do have a couple of people who've donated over to the coffee account. That's part of the feedback that I'm going to get to. The first one is from Sam Rasmussen, who is a regular contributor. Sam, we really appreciate your support. We love it.
Yeah,
Keep it coming. We really appreciate it. It is making a difference. It is making a big difference on our end. So, and of course, you know, his comment I have to read or sing, but he goes, I'm only going to sing what you wrote. So if you don't put the entire song in, I'm not going to sing the whole song. Okay, so here it is.
Dance, monkey, dance.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been a long road getting from there to here. It's been a long time, but TrekCast time is finally here. That's what he wrote. There you go.
Fantastic.
So that's lovely. That's lovely.
I was about to go grab my guitar.
Start singing along, guys. You know, you can sing along anytime with these.
It's been a long road.
There you go. Get the gravel.
Gotta get your rasp up.
Yep.
Welcome to TrekCast Adult Contemporary.
That was brilliant, Daniel.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
so here's our next Commander Felton. Has been a recent contributor. I think this is the second time he's contributed to the show, so we appreciate it, Commander. And he says, keep the podcast coming. I enjoy listening to them on the shuttlecraft to and from work. So Commander Felton is a fellow member of Space Force, apparently. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it. Again, what I mentioned before on some of our feedback, David Willocks has this intro and outro, which I'm just dying for everybody to hear this because it's phenomenal. I'll get it up. It's so good, and I don't want to like put it up on our Facebook group or anything and then ruin it because I want everybody to hear it when they go play the podcast and it just blares through their speakers and scares the shit out of them. Or I'm sorry, scares the. Oh damn, I'm not on the right page. Anyway, I was gonna beep that. So anyway, we'll get that coming. And then if everybody remembers back a couple of episodes back, episode 210, Making Fake Trek, where we talked to Andy Bray and Jimmy Chen, or Jimmy Lin, sorry, about their book, Making Fake Trek. I want to put another plug out for that book because it's been a few weeks. And we're going to be posting up a couple things. He gave me an email here. Basically just saying, can you put up a couple more links, help us out, get the book going a little bit more with sales. I told them we would. So apparently everything's going great for those guys. They loved it. They loved the show. They loved the interview. They're playing it all over the place on Twitter, retweeting it every once in a while. They've gone on to a couple of different shows as well, which is great. Good for them. It's a hysterical book. It's a good, fun read. So if you haven't picked it up yet, go to Amazon, look up Making Fake Trek. That's Andy Bray and Jimmy Lin. That was the couple of main feedbacks that I had.
I got an email.
Else? Yep, you got an email?
Yeah. So this one came in from Gentry Hogan, and he says, so we had a movie which featured Kirk's surprise son, and we had a TNG episode which had Picard's surprise son. So I have questions. Does Janeway get to have a surprise son? And yes, I'm sure it would be a surprise. I'm pretty sure the kid would have come out of her coffee addiction. Does Archer have a surprise son? Porthos doesn't count. Always ahead of the game. Captain Sisko had his. Good man. Never gets the credit he deserves. So these aren't really questions as much as statements or I don't know. We're going to find out that Captain Giorgio's got a secret son who's seeking out revenge against Michael Burnham in the future. Maybe.
Maybe.
And why didn't we get Picard's son get a movie? Maybe he should. Time for a Generation sequel. I kid. Maybe his son will reappear in the new Star Trek series. Who knows? But other than that,
son.
yeah.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Finish.
He says, "Great job, guys. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the job you're doing. This fall is going to be busy."
Yeah.
I guess with all the Trek. So.
Yeah.
So, point of order.
Here we go.
Picard's surprise son was not actually his son.
No.
Right.
Yeah. So, giving him a spinoff. I mean, what would you call it? Star Trek, not Picard's son.
I'd watch that show.
No. Here's what you call it.
Son.
Here's what you call it. Fake news.
So I'm trying to think who else has had well, Worf had his son pop up.
Yep.
Hey, do you still have that clip from Geordi? Because if his son had a show, that would be the name of the show.
This is my daddy.
This is my daddy.
That would be it. This is my daddy. Oh yeah, I'm leaving that one in there.
This is my daddy.
It's too good
There you
not to
go.
have that in there. It's just too good. Because at some point you can kind of put some things together like this.
This is my daddy.
TrekCast.
You know? or how about this?
This is my daddy.
Shut up, Wesley.
You gotta mix it up there.
Because Wesley could be Picard's prize real son.
Oh yeah, could be.
I mean, those two. I mean, there's a hashtag going around on Twitter all about the Beverly Crusher, and I think it's hashtag Beverly or hashtag Picard needs Beverly. Yep. And there's even a new Twitter account called Picard needs Beverly, and it's all about all the photos and different memes of those two over the years. So.
You guys didn't hear the news? They're bringing back Pulaski instead.
No, they're not.
She's going to be in Picard. She's going to be the love interest.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So we had some other comments too on the Facebook group.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I need to get that image out of my head. I'll be right back.
You need bleach for your brain to get that out.
Okay, I'm back now.
There you go.
Keep going.
Oh yeah. So, I didn't know if you had more to say about that.
Oh, okay. So that was all of our incoming, all of our feedback. Okay.
No, I got some from the Facebook group. Yeah. So
I guess we'll do the topic next week.
Yeah.
Sure. So Mike Medina had a question. Is Chad willing to grow a beard? I think his face is in good shape to carry a full beard. I don't know why I wanted to ask that question, but I really did.
Well, I had a full beard at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I guess I could grow it back. I guess what he's saying is I look like a baby face without it. Maybe he just doesn't recall. Oh, he probably never watched any of the YouTube versions of the episode to see the beard. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been watching any of the YouTube versions of this podcast and you've only been listening to it, you can see our gorgeous, sexy faces over on YouTube. Which, of course, will give you a preview for the TrekCast men's calendar.
Yeah, the Men of TrekCast calendar.
The Men of TrekCast calendar. I said that backwards. Sorry.
I feel like it's going to have a subtitle.
The TrekCast men's calendar is only for men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be...
Sorry, ladies.
I'm already planning the calendar for 2020. It's going to be the Men of TrekCast calendar, Ryza Unleashed.
Oh, jeez. Every single picture will just be another one of those totems.
Indeed.
Different lighting, different background, but it's just another totem. We should, if we had the money, we should do that because that would be hysterical. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, so should we get to the main topic today?
Hey, what do you know? It's topic time.
Yeah.
I don't know where the huh is, apparently. I've only played that 50 million freaking times.
Sorry, I just realized the time I had to take my pills.
Oh. It's time for the topic.
Right
Daniel's got to take his pills. He's like,
well,
geez,
I had
too.
time to look at the clock. I was like, oh, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our main topic today is the impending merger between Viacom and CBS. The merger has not officially happened yet. They've reached an agreement to make it happen, but there's still a lot of process. It's going to take a while. If you guys remember, the Fox Disney merger took, I think, about a year once they made an agreement. It still took.
I don't think it's going to take that long because they're both still owned by the same parent corporation, aren't they?
No, they were forced to split up.
Yeah, no.
So this is They used to be the same company. Then they split up like 12 years ago.
Yeah, they were always owned by the same parent company. The parent companies split them up, and now the parent company's putting them back together. That's the way I understood it. They've always been owned by the same parent company.
Okay,
that's not the way I understand it.
As of right now, CBS and Viacom are two totally separate companies, and they don't have the same parent owner. Until that merger between Viacom and the main corporation above CBS itself, which is CBS, merges, then they will have the same parent. Then they'll all be underneath one umbrella. But the Viacom side, which owns Paramount, which is the Trek movies, and the CBS side, which is Trek TV, have not been under the same umbrella for, well,
like 12 years, I think.
Since UPN, basically.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time.
I'm gonna go do some reading about that.
Yeah,
after the show, because
I
don't think that's the situation. I think they've been operating separate from each other, but several links up on the chain, they are still owned by the same parent corporation.
Well, if they were, then all of this stuff would have been together. I mean, they wouldn't have had any problems with having to do the split Kelvin timeline. They could have just done a reboot of Star Trek period without having to make it a Kelvin timeline. That's the whole point of the reason why they made it the Kelvin timeline, because they had to use something outside of. There's always been this dichotomy between the two.
I think you're drinking some of that Kool-Aid from that other podcast. That other, I don't even know what it's called.
Nerdrotic.
Alternate license.
Yeah, Nerdrotic. Yeah, I don't know.
That he just pulled out of his ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll check. I'll check on it.
Well, right. It's a big, one way or the other. It's a big deal because it means.
It is a big deal.
Means going forward, we don't have a problem anymore with the movies and the television shows not only running in parallel, but also having the same content that they can use across both, which was a problem before. I don't know when or why or how, but it was a problem before. So everything being underneath one umbrella, okay, this is where I'm going to, unless you guys have something specific to say, and maybe I didn't know if I was cutting anybody off, but
no, go for it.
I'm going to drop a little information that only the three of us knew up until right now. About 2 months ago, about 2 months ago now, about a month and a half in front of Comic-Con and all the big announcements that came out of there, I started trying to get connected with the new marketing team ran by Veronica Hart at CBS and that whole staff about our show and what we're doing, and can we get some access, can we get to talk to some people, interviews, all this kind of stuff, and try to get tied in with their marketing team. And at that time, what they told me is they didn't have a clear they were just getting started. They didn't have a clear roadmap. They weren't really sure which direction they were going with stuff. I think they were kind of sure about what they were doing, but they really
Chad,
couldn't.
I don't think we should be getting into this, man.
Well, no, here's what I'm going to say. All I'm going to say is I'm not sure if they were letting the cat out of the bag at that point, because look at what they did at San Diego Comic-Con with Star Trek Universe. Right? They called it Star Trek Universe. Did they have a little bit of foreknowledge of this merger? Team. That's right. That's all I'm getting at.
But we knew like back in January that there was talks of a potential merger. There was that big fight about
there's
who
been
was
speculation
going to be in charge of CBS. After.
There's been fight about that for a year and a half, though.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, this is always potentially going to happen. So, it
just seems pretty coincidental. They called it Star Trek Universe ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting is so there was an investor call to talk about the merger and what it's going to mean for the future. And one of the big things they straight up said was the whole reason they're doing this is to go after Disney. Since Disney now pretty much owns all of entertainment and is expanding into creating Disney Plus and all this craziness, they want to be able to do that as well. So they felt that they needed to merge the companies back together, get the two big things they wanted to get under one roof was they straight out said Star Trek and Mission Impossible, because right now they're owned Mission Impossible is owned. The TV rights are owned by CBS, but the film rights are owned by Paramount. This combines them. Same thing with Star Trek. TV rights are at CBS.
Right.
Film rights are at Paramount. This combines them.
Right.
So they really want to get both franchises off the ground, and they have flat out said that they want both to scale, meaning they want Star Trek movies, they want Star Trek TV shows, they want Star Trek streaming, any possible channel they have, that's where they want to go to.
Right, and that gets back to what my point was I think they're it seems like from the outside looking in, it seems like they're starting to put their groundwork in for an STU, kind of like an MCU, but it's Star Trek universe.
Oh yeah,
STU.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible now, where it wasn't really possible.
Oh, it's totally
before.
possible.
Yeah, it wasn't possible before, but it is now.
I mean, this is where we could get a Klingon show. We could get, it doesn't just have to be the Federation. They could expand that universe like that. I remember when we first heard about Discovery, and they were saying that it was going to be an anthology show. We could go back to that. We never had our anthology shows, so you could have a different crew every season of something else. Star Trek Voyages. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. There's all sorts of different things that they can do.
Sure.
Here's one of my first questions I had for you guys. Does this mean the end of the Kelvin timeline, like completely? Because now they don't ever have to go back to it.
I have a better question.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Does it matter, really?
Well, it only matters. Okay, I think in order to answer that question, you have to say, in Star Trek Beyond, can you leave it from right there? Did they wrap it up enough to where you can leave it from right there? Or are there still anything left that you have to see, or you feel you should see, or do you think they can be done? And I think from that standpoint, if you look at that movie and the way it ended, I think they can leave it like that. Whether you want them to or not is a total opinion piece, but I think it's totally doable to leave it like that and never go back to it, because they did kind of start at the beginning of that movie with Kirk and Spock going their own separate ways because they were done with this whole thing.
Right.
But the whole point of why Leonard Nimoy original Spock was trying to put those two together, was trying to do that, was because he knew that even though that was a different timeline, that universe wouldn't be right without those two together. The Federation and that universe wouldn't be right without those two together. And so even though it's totally different because of everything else that's happened and Vulcan being gone and whatever, he felt like that universe needed those two together in order to stabilize the Federation in that timeline. And I think they wrapped that up enough at the end of Beyond to say that's okay. You don't have to go back to it. I think you could leave it if you wanted to. Now, whether you as a fan want to see more of it or not, it's a whole other thing. But in terms of the story, I don't think they need to revisit it. That's my opinion.
There are 5 Spider-Man movies that take place outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Right. That's 5 times that people went to the theater to see Spider-Man before they got it right, before they gave us the best version that they have. So I think those movies are out there. Anybody who wants to view them can go view them. But, if we never see Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man again, that's okay. And if we never see Chris Pine as Kirk again, that's okay too. I give those movies a lot of grief sometimes, but there are things about those movies that I like. I do like the first one. I have rewatched the first one numerous times. There's a whole bunch of plot holes. There's a whole bunch of things wrong with it. But they are enjoyable movies to watch, and they will always be enjoyable movies to watch. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean we need more of them. They can do better things in this other cinematic universe. Mm-hmm. And I think we'll be better off for it. Because that's the other thing. Those characters are never going to interact with the other characters that we know and love. Okay, I think this Picard thing. I think this Picard thing is going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And if they are really going after Disney, okay, Disney's thing with, if they're using the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a model to do what Disney is doing, then I think the only logical thing for them to do is, multiple movies that every once in a while converge with each other. Because that's basically what the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. Captain America's over here doing his thing. Iron Man's over here doing this thing. Guardians of the Galaxy are over here doing this thing. And, they all kind of interconnect with each other every few movies. And it's self-contained stories that you can sit down and watch a 2-hour movie and be satisfied with the conclusion to that story. But at the same time, there's all these tentacles linking it to these other larger stories. And they can do the same thing. You can have a Voyager 5-episode series. You can have a Deep Space Nine miniseries, and have the characters link back together for some bigger event down the road. And I think the fans would just eat it up. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of went off the rails there.
That's okay. I think that's I think all that's possible, but I want to lay one caveat down and see what you guys think about this. As far as the movies are concerned, they'd better learn what was learned with the Kelvin timeline movies. Okay, not from the standpoint of the story writing, not from the standpoint of the plot structure, not from all that other stuff. I'm just talking about the logistics of it. If you are going to make a Trek movie in this day and age, you'd better not let your budget get over $100 million. I don't care how good the movie is. You shouldn't let your budget get over $100 million. Because when they did that with Beyond was a great movie. And Beyond did really well in the theaters for what it is.
Yeah.
But they still didn't make any money. That's why they didn't go and make a fourth one, because they let the budget get up to $200 million, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous. Well, I think it was, what did they say, 187, 189, something like that. But anyway, still, that's almost $200 million. That's the reason why it didn't make its money in the theater, because it just way too overblown.
Well, no, the budget was 185.
They didn't sell enough. They didn't sell enough lunch boxes and T-shirts and branded juice boxes. And I mean, Jesus Christ, my wife buys grapes at Walmart for my son, and they've got the Avengers logo on the side of them. So I don't remember. I actually don't remember which character it was. But I mean, they're branding fruit, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
They're branding fruit. If you can brand fruit, you can brand anything, and that's the thing. Beyond, maybe it did all right at the theater, and the budget got up to $200 million. But if they had sold an assload of fruit or an assload of lunch boxes or T-shirts and whatnot, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at that point. It doesn't matter where the money comes from, whether it comes from ticket sales or calendars or T-shirts or whatever. If you sell enough stuff along with it, it's fine.
I know this. You know who's really happy about all this? Is Simon Pegg. Because he's square in both franchises.
Yeah.
So either way, he's going to make out pretty good. He's in Mission Impossible and he's in Star Trek.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in Mission Impossible, yeah.
So, either way, he's going to be making a ton of money in the future.
Yeah.
More so.
I don't think Simon Pegg has to worry about money at this point. I think he just has to worry about what intrigues him or what he's interested in, or hopefully he can do the things he wants to. But, I mean, money is not an object for Simon Pegg. But, which goes to prove that anybody can make it in Hollywood. Anyway, so...
Wow.
I like Simon Pegg. I'm just teasing.
But, I mean, they're clearly planning to do... They're clearly planning to make Star Trek a bigger deal. And now it makes sense that when Kurtzman went to them and said, here's my plan, I think it was a 10-year plan or 5-year plan to make Star Trek a bigger franchise, not just one show, but overall a franchise. So no wonder they perked up,
Yeah, sure. Well, sure, because it's their property and they own it and they can make money off of it, and no one's touched it for 15, 16 years. Time to dust it off and on the TV side anyway. Time to dust it off.
But if they're going to make movies too, then
yeah,
what do we want movies wise? Do we want a reboot of the Next Generation? Do we want DS9? Do we want a whole new crew that's just for the films?
I'm not sure you could do a reboot of one of the original series as a movie. I'm not sure you could do that. I'm just not sure you could do that. What you could do, though,
I don't think you can do another Kirk and another Spock. You're done.
No, I think you're done.
Move
there.
on.
Unfortunately, yeah. I think you're done there, and that's tough. But whatever. Which is too bad, because honestly, if they would have just rebooted everything and stayed within the same prime timeline, I think those 3 series probably would have done better. But anyway, I think what they can do, though, is they can take Discovery and however many seasons they feel like they need to go. Well, of course, now that they're 930 years in the future, that just changes everything altogether. And they say they're never coming back, so whatever. But a show like that, or one of their other series they have, or the Picard series, for instance, maybe you could definitely do a spin-off movie from that then gets one of the other original characters involved, like, say, Geordi. And now you've got a quote-unquote Geordi movie that has Picard in it and ties into the show. And it's just maybe it's a one-off movie, and it has some of the original cast from TNG, and plays into where a season 2 or where a season or series finale winds up with Picard in season 3, or however many seasons they do. I know they're not doing very many. I think they had talked about trying to plan for 3 seasons, but that's, who knows. That could change. I mean, this could be Discovery's last season for all we know. I doubt it, but the numbers look good. But
it got canceled.
That was the other question I was going to have for you guys: is how much longer do you think Discovery goes? Because Netflix has straight out said after 3 seasons the show's no good. It starts losing audience and it costing too much to make.
And that's why they're making a season 4 of Stranger Things and a lot of other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't go too far deep into them. It's rare that a show goes that far.
Yeah.
Well, there's diminishing returns. And I think that's what they're saying is not that it's no good after 4 seasons, but after the 4th season, if you're smart, you start wrapping things up because there are diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying
unless you're Law and Order SVU, and then it's just 25 seasons, you just keep going.
Right.
Or Seinfeld.
But those are procedurals. It doesn't matter what happens throughout the seasons. Each episode's its own story.
Right. When you've got when you've got every season as one story arc, that kind of changes the perspective there a little bit. Because, I mean, frankly, I did like season 2, but it got tiring after a while. It's like, okay, and I've heard the Red Angel so many times. Seriously, it's like every third word it becomes Smurf. It becomes the Smurf. Everything is Smurf. So it's and how many times can you go back and rewatch that once you get that stuck in your head? But
yeah.
Well, here's the question then.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I'm just wondering if any of these new series that they're going to do, if we're ever going to see a return to the old format of storytelling, or if it's always going to be 13 episodes, 13 parts of one story.
Well, I want to say that I would almost imagine that Lower Decks is going to be like that. It's not going to have a story arc through a season. It's just going to be one episode's funny, whatever, this, that, and the other. Then they're going to go to the next episode, and maybe things kind of stack from here to there. But each episode doesn't really build on the other for an overall arc. I don't know how you. I think that's how you have to do a show
some of the newer
that.
kid shows, they do have an arc, like the Voltron and She-Ra and a bunch of the newer stuff.
Yeah,
they do have overall arcs.
They do. Yeah, I guess that's anybody's guess at this point how they're going to do that. Then,
yeah,
I think
even
they
Rick
could.
and Morty, it's not for kids, but same group, and that has an overall arc.
Never watched Rick and Morty, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. I think they could. I don't see a reason why you can't. It's not like we're in a day and age now where those kinds of series just don't fly and no one watches them. I think it's possible. And I think actually it would be more likely. Now, if I sit here and think about it, think of how many different shows you watch that have an arc like that. You can't just pick one up and watch it whenever. How many shows are like that that are new shows coming on the air? They're all like that. They're all like that. So you could actually make an argument to stand out as something interesting that you can just go pop in and watch whenever, and it doesn't matter the order in which you watch it or when you watch it. You can just go pick it up and go to it. That would almost be a selling point with the number. I mean, geez, finally got through The Handmaid's Tale with my wife. Oh my Lord. Hang me now.
But then there's like...
Hang me now. But I had to watch all 3 seasons of that with her over the summer here on Hulu. So now that I'm done with that, now we're watching Stranger Things. And it's like season 3 anyway. But it's like you get this fatigue of, God, watch another episode of that, another episode of that, another episode of that. You're like in that same universe for so long. It's like, can I just watch something different that I don't have to? Now that I've started watching it, oh my gosh, I've got 42 episodes I have to watch, or I've got the 10 episodes for the season that I have to watch to see where it goes. Like, can't I just go pick up something new and fresh and interesting that doesn't have to now have this time commitment of 42 freaking hours? I think there'd be a selling point for that. I think they could do it. And maybe that's what they're trying to, maybe that's their thought process with these mini short treks that they've done. Testing the waters there to see what that does in terms of viewership. People just picking up something and watching it and going. It doesn't have any other, it does have tie-ins, but you don't have to have those tie-ins, right? You can just go watch those whenever. They're fun little quirky shows, and you don't even have to know the background that much of all the characters to watch it. It's just an interesting one-off, I think they do go and tie it in, but those are
they've already got sets built, and it's just something cheap that they can make.
Sure, and to get viewers' eyeballs back on it ahead of things.
Yeah.
Which I understand that, but I'm not sure how well that works for them. I'd love to see their numbers on that because you can go watch all of them in an hour,
right?
Before you go and watch your series that just now came out. So I'm not sure how much of a, other than we have to do it so we can talk about it, kind of thing. But or at least 2 of us have to.
Yeah,
I watched them after the fact.
I know. I'm just teasing you. So, but I don't know. I think anything's possible. The great thing about this whole merger thing, and I think it'll take about a year. I think it'll probably, maybe not quite a year. I would say if my guess is sometime in the early spring, late winter, early spring, like a March, April time frame, is when it'll all be done, and we'll start to, maybe by then, maybe by San Diego Comic-Con or STLV of next year, we'll hear about some fruits, some original concepts or things that are coming out of that fruit of the merger. That's my guess. So maybe a total of a year before we see anything or hear anything concrete coming from the merger. But I think it'd be done by April, March, April, somewhere. That's my guess.
So if they have Disney in their sights and they're looking to replicate what Disney is doing.
Oh, for sure. They flat out said that, yeah.
Yeah. So I have to say one thing I'm very excited about. This, what is it called? Galaxy's Edge? Is that what it's called? The
Star Trek one? Yeah.
Star Wars one.
The Star Wars,
Disney,
the Star Wars
Disneyland,
section at Disney. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much buzz around this place. I hope that we will get, I know we're not going to get something the same scale, but the Star Trek equivalent, Star Trek The Experience 2.0 somewhere would just be
like a Universal
amazing. Yeah, whether it's at Universal or, they team up with Six Flags or, put it back in Vegas if they need to. I mean, I'd be ecstatic to hear about that. So if you're listening, new merged company, please do that for us. Thank you.
We would love it.
We would love it.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool. So I think it's for sure, like we knew before when they were expanding the TV that it was going to be a bright future, but now I think this just gives a lot more opportunities. So, and then hopefully we can get our Spock helmets.
Yeah. Well, one thing is for sure. What's his name? Gentry that emailed into us.
Yeah.
He made a comment about that, about us having a busy fall. Not only will it be a busy fall, we are going to have one packed year next year, because what most people don't know is the three of us, we don't really plan out our shows very well. We are the most unpredictable podcast in the universe for a reason, because we just kind of say, hey, here's our topic, and we'll talk about it. Okay, great, talk to you in 2 weeks. And that's about as much preparation as we do. And maybe we lay out a couple of shows, 3 or 4 out, just so we have some ideas. But we are constantly changing what we're going to talk about.
No, yeah,
because of the news that keeps coming out.
As of a couple days ago.
Yeah, as of a couple days ago.
This is my post-it.
Oh, nice.
Show prep. This said, Reed and Heather brought you lasagna, and Hunter Bruno wants to go to Ticonderoga with you. That's my show prep.
Yep, that's
nice.
it. Yeah, so and that's funny, because there's mine right there, and I wrote half that down as we're talking. So, which reminds me, I almost forgot. I've been meaning to for months now, months and months and months. Hold on, I got to bring up this information.
Future's bright for Star Trek.
Future's bright, yeah. So I've been meaning to give a shout out to the folks who make Audio Hijack and Audio Hijack 3 specifically, because how I'm doing the soundboard and all of our sound effects while we're playing or recording the show, because we are playing around. All of that happens specifically because of Audio Hijack, and they gave us that software for free. So I've been meaning to say thank you to them for a long time now. It's like $60-$70.
Thank you.
Could have paid for it, but I asked. I said, hey, would you be willing to do this? Here's the show and what we're doing and how many people that listen. And they said, yeah, sure, go for it. They gave me a free license, and we've been using it for about a month or two now, and it's worked out great, other than the initial glitches that we got started with. And I just want to say thanks. Audio Hijack is awesome. Works great. I probably shouldn't say this, but I get to steal all kinds of audio off of YouTube now. It's wonderful. So, kudos to them. I appreciate it. And then, of course, looking at those notes, if you haven't been over to our website, you should do that, because, unlike what I mentioned before about the blog side, there is, of course, the banner we have at the bottom of the page for Entertainment World. If you go through that banner to go to Entertainment World, anything you buy, we get some proceeds from that, a little sliver. Daniel knows a little bit more about that than I do, because he set that up.
Entertainment Earth,
not Entertainment World. Sorry, it's on the webpage. So TrekCast.com.
No, it's called. They're merging.
They're merging. Yeah, it's well, that's the Canadian license. That's Entertainment World up there.
That's the alternate license.
Yeah. So please do that. Go to the show, go to the webpage, and then click on that link to get to it. One other thing. Nope, I guess that was it. Oh, and of course, if you want to help out by getting some TrekCast merch, you can do that through the website as well, TrekCast.com. And there's a little merch store there that takes you over to the Redbubble webpage, but it's got all of our TrekCast merch on there too: stickers, hats, coffee, mugs, all of that, and etc. Anything else, gentlemen, before I, say things I'm not supposed to?
Say things you're not supposed to. That sounds interesting. Skip directly to that.
No. I only said that because Daniel was starting to get upset with me. He thought I was going to go way too far, and hopefully I didn't go way too far.
Okay.
But anyway.
All right.
So.
No, I think that's pretty much it. What are we doing for the next episode? Kind of tell people ahead of time.
Good question. Because like we were saying, we changed some of this stuff on the fly because we have to... hold on, let me go pull it up. Because today we were going to be talking about...
the transporter.
Yeah, the transporter is a suicide machine.
And all the other technological marvels it can do.
Right. Warp speed and all that kind of stuff, and how it's probably not possible. Oh, come on. I didn't mean to go to that. So we bumped that one because of the CBS Viacom merger news, right, that came out. And we bumped it before that, too, for something else that was coming out. No, come on. I want to go to...
Well, because we did the convention, and then we did STLV.
Yep.
And then we're doing the merger. Well, we did the merger today.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I wish I'd been more prepared to have all that
okay.
pulled up while we were talking, but
that's okay. We'll you know what? Go to the group.
I'm looking on my
TrekCast.
post-it. I don't see anything.
Yeah.
About it.
Go to the TrekCast group. We'll let you know ahead of time, guys.
Yeah, we will. We'll let you know ahead of time. Usually about a week. Yeah. Of course, you need to go to the Facebook group over at TrekCast, or on Facebook. It's the group's TrekCast. And then, of course, on Twitter, it's TrekCast TNG. On Instagram, it's TrekCast TNG. And so, yeah, I guess the next episode was going to be our Warp Speed Practical Theories, why it's not maybe the transporter is a death machine. The next one after that is going to be our big DS9 reboot. Do not hold us to these, though, because if other news comes up that we think needs to kind of be hit right off the bat, then we'll probably hit that. The show after that is going to be, we're finally going to watch, maybe, because we've tried to do this 4 times now in the last year, the movie Please Stand By. If you've seen that movie with Dakota Fanning and love that movie, then we're going to give a review of that, because we're all going to watch it and give our nice little review of it finally. And that was the next one. And then after that was your idea, Daniel. That's all the way out the end of September now for Sci-Fi Crew rotations.
That's right.
That you just had earlier this week. So I'm really looking forward to that one. That sounded so much fun. So if you want to give a detail of that, yeah, don't. If you want to give a detail of it, go ahead. But I don't really want to say anymore unless you do.
Yeah, we'll as it gets closer, we'll let people know so they can play along.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's going to be fun. So,
yeah,
a lot coming down the pipeline. Of course, by the time we get through all of that, I'm sure we'll bump a few of those for news that comes out. We'll be getting into October time frame, and who knows? Maybe we'll start to see some of the first short treks around October, November time frame. Picard's not coming till we think January, but we're going to hear some more news on that. We know it's 2020; it's not 2019 anymore. So we could have a few more months where we have all of our nice, the traditional TrekCast shows as opposed to news coverage, which is fantastic. We love all the news coming out. It's a good time to be a Star Trek fan. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right. Anything else, gentlemen?
No.
I think that's it.
That's it.
All righty. Good show, guys. And I still don't have the original out. Dang it. I'll add it in.
We'll do it in post.
Yeah, I'll have to do it in post. Oh, well. All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Take care.
Good to see you.
Yep.
All right,
you
bye.
too, man. We'll see you.